So I want to paint this scene here before I lose the light as the sun is setting. And I just like this extended view and being able to see out into the distance. That's something that I'm kind of always drawn to, I think, being able to see distance, which is hard to get in town. So I'm going to be using gouache, titanium white, cadmium red, cadmium yellow, lemon, and ultramarine blue. And I'm just sketching here in my Anything Goes sketchbook. I've really been thinking a lot about habit and trying to build the artistic habit and the creativity within myself and to cultivate that. And I was really challenged this week by a book I'm reading by the Roman philosopher Epictetus. And in one of his discourses, one of the statements jumped out at me. It says, "You can't hope to make progress in areas where you have made no application." And that really jumped out at me because I think it's very easy to spend your time wishing that you were making art, wishing that you were more creative. But if I'm not spending the time doing it, then effectively it's not going to happen, right? And I think that's been the hardest part for me over the past weeks and months, is just carving out the time in my schedule to make sure that I actually am getting out like I am today here and sketching and making it happen. And if I'm honest, I almost didn't make this sketch happen because I was aware that as I'm setting up here that I have less than an hour before the sun sets and that the light is going to change dramatically. And I didn't have a specific scene that I wanted to paint or anything like that. I was going to go out to kind of a naturey area, and as I was driving and leaving my home, I realized by the time I got out there, the sun would have set. And so I was going to turn back. Then I thought, what about another area in town that has some cool nature? And I was going to go there, and then I changed my mind, and I was going to paint at a church. And anyways, it's a long, drawn-out story, but as I was trying to find a composition to paint, I literally almost gave up 2 or 3 times and thought, nah, I'll just quit and I'll do it tomorrow. And it's very easy to do that. And I think that quote coming through for me, "You can't hope to make progress in areas where you have made no application," made me go, no, I'm going to find something right now and I'm just going to paint it. And if I don't finish it, that's okay. If it doesn't turn out in any specific way, that's okay, because it made me consider, what is my actual goal? Is it to have a finished painting, kind of like I talked about in my last video, or is it to actually cultivate the habit and make art and spend time outside and observing beauty around me? And so I drove up into this neighborhood. I vaguely remembered driving down one of these streets and knowing that there was some really nice vista. And so I drove up here and I parked my car and walked around and I found this view here. So we're painting it. We're going to make it happen. The light's already changing right in front of me, and it's okay. I'm trying to apply myself so that I can make progress, right? And earlier this week too, I'm also trying to get back into oil painting, and I want to have a couple paintings going at home so that when there isn't time for me to go plein air painting or sketching, that I can still sit down for a certain period of time and paint. And so I busted out 2 unfinished paintings from last year that I really haven't touched. I don't think I've done any oil painting this year at all, or maybe one time before. And so I got the paintings out of storage and started working on this one painting of a creek scene, which with this deer, and it was really great. It was really great to just kind of chip away at it. I think it's still going to take me a really long time, but it just felt really, really good. And earlier this week, I went with my friend Andre. We met up at our museum, which always inspires me. And we were walking around, and I remembered this master copy by Child Hassam that I started as well, that I want to finish. And so when I got home, I got it out of storage and I started working on it and applying color. And I hope to learn a lot from that. And I guess as I was reading more of Epictetus, another quote jumped out at me, which kind of goes along with the idea, I think, of just enjoying the process and realizing that Rome isn't built in a day, which is sort of appropriate because Epictetus was Roman. Here he said, "Every habit and faculty is formed or strengthened by the corresponding act. Walking makes you walk better. Running makes you a better runner. If you want to be literate, read. If you want to be a painter, paint. Go a month without reading, occupied with something else, and you'll see what the result is. And if you're laid up a mere 10 days, when you get up and try to walk any distance, you'll find your legs barely able to support you. So if you like doing something, do it regularly. If you don't like doing something, make a habit of doing something different." I think for me, that's kind of what I'm trying to do here. And it makes me think of, what is the thing that you like doing? What is the something that you like doing? And what is the something that you don't like doing? And I think for me, one of the things that I don't like doing is not just, the artwork, but as we've sort of talked about in the past couple of videos, the self-criticism and the self-doubt and the false expectation that says, this painting needs to be a great piece of artwork and it better be good or else, it's a waste of my time. And I know that in my last video, I made some people unhappy because I was talking about how I often feel like urban sketching is a waste of time for me. And I would be tempted to feel that this sketch right here, at this point, I'm not feeling very positive about where it's going. This is definitely the ugly stage. The light is changing so much. There's, I'm flying by the seat of my pants here, and I'm trying to go really fast. And if I think of the criteria that this needs to be a piece of artwork that's going to be good, that other people are going to like, maybe I'm going to get praise from whoever sees it, whether it's people on YouTube or if I show it to my friends or my family, even for myself, I like to think that I don't worry about that too much, but I often worry about my own expectations that it should look a certain way, it should look photorealistic, it should look like the paintings in the museum. That's what I want. And really, when I think about what is the something that I don't like doing that Epictetus talks about, I think the something that I don't like doing is all of that false, unrealistic expectation that's based on a result that I can't fully control. And the reason why I can't fully control it is because I'm not a master artist. I haven't been doing art for all that long. I'm still a student and I'm still learning. And so I think a lot of times my expectations, even just the technical expectations that I have, are kind of unrealistic. But furthermore, I think it's very easy for us to have unrealistic expectations, to be envious, like we talked about in a previous video, of someone else's technique or skill, because we think that, oh, if I was only skilled enough to, make a masterpiece, then I would really be happy. But really, a lot of that is outside of our control. But truly, the pathway to gaining that level of skill is doing what I'm doing right now, getting out there when conditions are crazy and just making a sketch, getting out studio paintings, and when I have time and when I have energy, working on something and focusing on the process of building skill, the process of enjoying this sunset, the process of discovering a new vista in my neighborhood, and practicing sketching, and practicing observing, and practicing swirling gouache around and making shadows, and practicing that mental math that we do when we go, is this shadow too dark? Is it too light? What do I need to do with the next brushstroke? And gaining that experience. It sort of occurs to me as I think about these things this week that maybe our job is not to focus on the process, or maybe our job is not to focus on the product, but rather to focus on the process. Instead of thinking that, like, I have to have this result or else it's worthless, or else it's not worth doing. Maybe I need to focus on the process itself, which I'm trying to do right now, which is like, the thing in of itself is worth doing. And it's like planting a seed. If you plant a seed, it will grow, but it doesn't grow overnight. And to use more Roman puns, Rome was not built in a day, right? At another place, Epictetus says, "No one ever consults a seer or spends the night in a temple out of concern for the means rather than the ends of their actions. Find me such a person. I want to see him. This is the person I have looked for a long time, the true genius and aristocrat. I don't care if they be young or old, just find me one." He's really being kind of sarcastic here, saying that, like, people go to extensive lengths, but people do not trouble themselves with concerning themselves with the means. Rather, we always get obsessed with the ends, basically the product, right? And when we think about making art and we think about our creativity, it's really not developed by the finished product. The finished product is developed by that habit and the act of making art in of itself, and the brush miles that we have to build, and all of the bad sketches and all the bad paintings that you've done. You have to earn, I think, the right and the privilege and the experience to make a great piece of artwork by making a lot of bad pieces of artwork, by making a lot of mediocre sketches, and by trying your best. I think I don't know. There's like a mind shift that needs to change in terms of not just even thinking about the physical, practical aspects of being creative and creating, but also understanding that the way we think about what we do is also doing something. And what I mean by that is, like, I think that you can totally have a consistent art habit by painting or drawing every day, or doing Inktober, or maybe you're a professional artist or a freelance artist, and you don't struggle with the actual habit of creating artwork or applying art material to the page and making images, maybe that's not the aspect of the habit that you struggle with. But I think a lot of these ideas have made me realize that how we think about what we do is also something that we do. That is to say, like, maybe you draw every day, maybe you paint every day, but how do you think about that? Do you think that just the technical proficiency is what matters, or do you think that, if somebody praises your work or it gets a lot of likes on Instagram, that's then what makes it good or bad? Because I think when we realize that how we think about what we do is also something that we do, then that gives us a lot of agency, because how we think about what we do is then under our control, right? And so to me, I think this is a shift that I'm trying to do, is not to be discouraged by overly fixating on the means, as Epictetus, or the end result, but focusing on the means, as Epictetus was talking about, that focusing on the process and making myself schedule and art making and making myself sit down and be consistent with it, but also making myself realize that because I'm a student and because I'm learning and because I need more experience, and I haven't mastered painting, I haven't mastered gouache, I haven't mastered any of it, and just allowing myself to be a student and allowing myself to learn and realize that in order to be a great artist, it takes many, many years of applied practice, and that maybe even the best part of it is not the end result, but rather the process. I'm enjoying just being out here today. I'm enjoying standing on this hill and hearing the birds chirp and feeling the air against my skin, and maybe that's the whole point. And if somebody compliments your work, great. Or if you're able to sell a painting, or if you feel good about the technique, even better. But maybe the whole point is to just be thankful for the experience, to learn from the experience, to build your skills, because it's the accumulation of the things that you do. And likewise, understand that the way you think about what you're doing is also a component that needs practice, that needs refining. Like, do you want to do something good but think about it in a bad way? I think you can spoil it. And I know that I've been guilty of that. But you can do a sketch and you can have the right mindset and practice that mindset every time that you pick up a brush or a pencil or a pen, and think like, I'm here to learn. I'm here to see what I can get done. I'm here to build a habit, and think about what this scene and what this sketchbook has to teach me. And know that, it's kind of like putting a small amount of money in the bank every day. If you put $2, $3, $5 into the bank, that feels inconsequential because a few dollars here or there, can't really buy you very much. But when you think about things in the long term, and you think about the accumulation of a few dollars every day, it can add up to a lot of money over the course of a year or 2 years or 3 years. And I think that's how practicing our skills and practicing our mindset and practicing our gratitude, how developing those habits can really change your life. And it can change the way that you work, and it can change your creativity. And as you do build your skills, for me, I think having the right mindset and practicing gratitude and doing what I'm doing right now, just going for it, even when I initially felt discouraged and I feel like I don't know what I am doing, and I feel like I don't know if I can make this painting turn out the way that I want to from a technical standpoint. Doing it anyway, practicing that mindset shift, practicing being thankful just for this opportunity to paint, to look, to see, to feel? Isn't that what art is all about? I feel energized right now, even though this isn't my best sketch. And that energy, I think if you cultivate that as you're painting, as you're sketching, as you're drawing, as you're controlling the way you think about what you do, that's actually going to set you up to be the sort of artist who paints and sketches and draws for years and years and years. And that's the sort of person who becomes a master artist at their creativity. That's the sort of person who doesn't flag and give up. That's the sort of person who's able to make masterpieces. And that's the sort of person who doesn't get knocked off their game by praise or success or feeling compliments or selling paintings or chasing money or chasing clout or anything like that. You're stable because your priorities are in the right spot. And so I think this is maybe this is what really makes pursuing these things worth doing. It's pursuing that habit and how you think and changing the way that you interact with this habit. I'll leave you with a couple other quotes that come to mind. I'm here in Omaha, Nebraska, and one of our hometown heroes is Warren Buffett. I think at one point Warren Buffett was maybe the richest man. He's definitely one of the wealthiest men and great businessman. And I heard a clip from him. He said, "The chains of habit are too light to be felt until they're too heavy to be broken." And what I think he means by that is, a simple little regular habit doesn't have to be this life-altering thing, and it won't be a life-altering thing right away. As in, the chains will be too light to feel, both in a positive and in a negative sense. But as that habit grows and you develop that habit over the course of time, then the chain is too heavy to be broken. And again, you can think of that in a positive or a negative light. Because if our habits are bad in terms of being overly critical or overly negative, or having the wrong priorities when we're making art, being self-absorbed, being expectant for a certain result that doesn't make sense, seeking other people's approval, then that becomes a habit and it becomes hard to break. And maybe I'm guilty of that. But by the same token, I think what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to shift my mindset towards gratitude, towards observation, towards being open to learn and to grow and to understanding where I'm at and to being hopeful that I will get better over time instead of impatient and expecting myself to be perfect now. He also went on to say, you will have the habits 20 years from now that you decide to put into practice today. And I think that's something that can really motivate you to do what I'm doing right now, to get out and to paint and to sketch, to draw. And you can think about other areas of your life too. Is there something that you want to be doing that you're not doing? Is there a way of thinking about life? Is there a way of, I think people always think about, I want to read more, or I want to work out, or I want to save money. But is there something like we're talking about in your mind? Do you want to be more grateful? Do you want to be more loving? Do you want to be more generous? Those are habits that we can start cultivating now, and you'll become a master at it in 20 years. Lastly, Warren Buffett said, I suggest that you look at the habits you admire in others, or the behavior you admire in others, and make those your own habits, and look at what you find somewhat reprehensible in others, and just decide those are things you're not going to do.